What if I told you the most dangerous trap in your life is already inside your head? Every day, a constant voice whispers, criticizes, compares, and commands. And without realizing it, you obey. From the moment you wake up until your eyes close at night, it shapes how you feel, what you fear, and the choices you regret. Yet almost no one stops to ask, who is actually listening? Most people live as prisoners of this voice, repeating the same thoughts day after day. Research shows nearly half your waking life is lost to mind wandering. Half your life gone, while your body moves like a machine. You think you're choosing, but the program is choosing for you. Ask yourself this: are you really living, or are you being lived? If you are not the voice in your head, then who are you? The answer changes everything. And time to wake up is running out. So let me ask again. If you hear that voice in your mind right now, the one that plans, doubts, and compares, who is the one listening to it? That question is the crack in the wall of the cage. A cage you did not even know you were in. For most of your life, you have been trained to obey that voice. Not by choice, but by programming. Family expectations, cultural rules, painful memories, all stitched together into a script that you follow without question. That script tells you when to be afraid, when to hold back, when to settle for less. And without noticing, you become the character instead of the author. Studies from the National Science Foundation reveal that 80% of the thoughts you think today are the exact same ones you thought yesterday. Think about that. 8 out of every 10 thoughts looping in your head are recycled. The same worries, the same fears, the same doubts. And you call it your life. But here is the truth. That voice is not you. It never was. You are the one who hears it. You are the awareness behind it. And once you see that, the program begins to lose its power. Harvard research by Matthew Killingsworth discovered something shocking. 47% of the time, your mind is wandering. Almost half of your waking hours gone. Your body is here, but your mind is drifting. You are living in yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's fears, missing the only place life actually happens. Now, let me show you a story. A businessman in Texas built his entire career based on his father's warning: never take risks. For 10 years, he obeyed that voice. He built a company. He followed the rules of safety. And then he lost it all. Only then did he realize he had not been living his truth. He had been living his father's fear. When he finally saw the program for what it was, he understood the voice was not him. It was a hand-me-down belief, an echo of someone else's story. And in that moment, he began again. So what about you? How many of your choices come from a voice that is not even yours? How many of your dreams are trapped under someone else's warning? How many years will you spend walking a path you never chose? This is not about motivation. This is about waking up. Because if you continue to obey the program, you will repeat the same cycles day after day, year after year, until life runs out. But there is a way out. It begins with awareness. The instant you notice the voice is not you, the instant you see it as a program, you create distance. And in that space, something powerful appears. Choice to act differently. Choice to silence the critic. Choice to step into the unknown. That is where freedom lives. You are not late. You are not broken. You are not stuck. The voice tells you these things because it survives through fear. But once you stop believing it, you reclaim your life. So listen closely. If you want to know who you really are, stay here. Right now, we are going to peel back the layers, reveal the patterns that keep you trapped, and uncover the first step to breaking free. But before we go further, I will leave you with this question. If you are not the voice in your head, then who are you? This is not a riddle. This is the doorway. the one that separates a life lived on autopilot from a life lived awake. And the moment you step through, nothing will ever be the same again, because the truth is waiting, and the time to meet it is now. You are the silence behind every thought, the observer. Let that sink in. If you are not the voice in your head, then who is listening? The answer is not hidden in the noise. It is hidden in the space behind the noise. That space is you, the awareness that notices, the one who sees without being trapped. Think about this for a moment. A thought comes. It says you are not good enough. Another thought comes. It says you are running out of time. But then, something in you notices that thought. Something in you hears it without being it. That something is the second layer of awareness, metacognition, the ability to think about your thoughts. This is the key most people never find. They live inside the storm, thinking the storm is who they are. But you are not the storm. You are the sky that holds it. What happens when you observe instead of obey? Suddenly, there is distance. A thought arrives, but you do not react. You simply see it. That distance is power. Between stimulus and response, a new space opens. And in that space lies freedom. Science confirms this. Studies on mindfulness reveal that just 10 minutes a day of observing your mind can physically reshape your brain. Gray matter density increases in the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making, clarity, and emotional balance. 10 minutes of awareness begins to rewire years of unconscious programming. Now imagine this. A nurse in California named Sarah carried the weight of her work home every night. The voice in her head repeated the cries, the stress, the exhaustion. She lived in constant tension, unable to rest. Then she learned one simple practice. Observe the voice instead of believing it. When a thought came, she noticed it. She named it, and she let it pass. Slowly, her stress melted. She no longer carried the hospital inside her head. She carried silence. She carried peace. This is what happens when you shift from being the voice to being the observer. The chaos does not vanish overnight, but you are no longer its prisoner. You step outside the cage. You see the bars. And the moment you see the bars, they begin to lose their hold. So right now, test it. Listen to the voice in your mind. Really listen. What is it saying? Maybe it is judging. Maybe it is planning. Maybe it is comparing. But then ask, who is hearing it? In that moment, you step back. You shift into the observer. You awaken. Can you feel the difference? The voice is loud, but you are quiet. The voice is restless, but you are still. The voice is temporary, but you are constant. This is not theory. This is practice. This is the doorway to a new way of living. The more you watch, the less you are pulled. The less you obey, the more you choose. And the more you choose, the more you become free. But here comes the real question. If you can watch the voice, if you can step outside of it, then how do you break the old loop for good? How do you stop repeating the same patterns that kept you stuck? The answer begins with awareness, but it does not end there. It requires a deeper step, a way to interrupt the program and rewrite it. And that is where we go next. So remember this truth. You are not the voice. You never were. You are the silence behind it. You are the observer. And once you know that, you can never see your life the same way again. Because now you hold the key. And the choice is in your hands. By recognizing its origin and rewriting the script. That is the key. That is how you escape the loop that has held you for years. But let me ask you this. Have you ever wondered why the same situations keep repeating? Why you fall into the same patterns, the same arguments, the same disappointments? It is not chance. It is the program. Here is how it works. A thought appears. That thought, repeated often enough, becomes a belief. That belief shapes your emotions. Your emotions drive your actions. Your actions create experiences. And those experiences reinforce the original belief, thought, belief, emotion, behavior, experience, back to belief again. This is the loop. This is the cycle dot. And most of what you feel today is not about today. It is an echo of the past. Old fears dressed in new clothes. Old wounds replayed through current events. You are not reacting to reality. You are reacting to memory. Neuroscience has a name for this. Hebbian learning. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Every time a thought pairs with an emotion, a connection strengthens. Repeat it long enough, and the brain builds a pathway, a highway of habit. And soon, you are not thinking anymore. You are repeating. Consider the story of a veteran who returned home from Iraq. Every time fireworks exploded in the sky, his body froze in panic. His heart raced. His mind braced for danger. But he was not in a war zone. He was in his backyard, celebrating with neighbors. His reaction was not to the present moment. It was to the echo of memory. Only when he saw that truth did he begin to heal. He realized the fear belonged to the past, not the present. Now pause for a second. How many of your reactions are echoes? How many fears are simply old voices replaying? When someone rejects you, is it really about them? Or is it the old wound of not being enough? When you hesitate to take a risk, is it really your choice? Or is it the echo of a parent's warning to play safe? Asterisk, this is the cage. But here is the secret. You cannot erase the past, but you can interrupt the loop. You can step into the cycle and rewrite the script. The brain that wired itself into fear can also wire itself into freedom. And it begins with recognition. When a thought arises, you name it. You see where it comes from. Is this my truth? Or is this a memory? Is this my choice? Or is this conditioning? That awareness breaks the chain. That awareness turns automatic reaction into conscious choice. Science proves it. New neurons fire when you choose differently. New connections form when you challenge the old script. The brain rewires itself through practice. Just as neurons wired together once created the prison, neurons wired together in new ways create the door out. Think about it. Every time you observe instead of obey, you weaken the loop. Every time you choose presence over autopilot, you carve a new path. And every path you carve is a step toward freedom. So ask yourself right now, which beliefs are you carrying that are not yours? Which emotions are echoes of a story that ended years ago? Which behaviors are scripts you never wrote? The moment you see them, they begin to lose their hold. You cannot delete the past, but you can silence its loop. You can step out of the cycle. And the first step is to realize this. The voice is not truth. It is repetition, a program, a pattern. And you are not the pattern. You are the one who sees it. So listen closely. You do not need to fight the voice. You only need to expose it. You only need to watch it without obeying. And each time you do, the loop weakens. Until one day, you are no longer living in echoes. You are living in choice. But this leads to a deeper question. If the loop has shaped my life for so long, how do I truly change a perspective I have carried all my life? That question is the bridge. On the other side of it lies transformation. And the time to cross is now by changing the lens through which you see yourself. That is the shift. That is the moment everything begins to transform. But let me ask you, how many times have you said to yourself, I am anxious, I am weak, I am shy, I am not enough? Every time you say I am, you carve that identity deeper. You build a cage out of words. And then you live inside it as if it were truth. But what if the problem was never you? What if the problem was the lens? Because the lens you look through decides the world you see. Change the lens, and the picture changes. Change the language, and your life begins to move in a new direction. Here is the secret. Instead of saying I am, begin to say I'm noticing. I'm noticing anxiety. I'm noticing self-doubt. I'm noticing fear. Suddenly, you are no longer inside the label. You are outside, observing. And that small shift creates a massive difference. Why? Because language creates reality. Every statement of I am is a command to your brain. Every label becomes a script that shapes how you feel, what you do, and who you think you are. But when you move to I'm noticing, you separate yourself from the experience. You reclaim choice. You no longer drown in the emotion. You watch it pass like clouds across the sky. Stanford research proves this. Studies on self-talk show that shifting your language changes your behavior, reduces stress, and increases resilience. Words are not just sounds. Words are codes that program the nervous system. And you hold the power to rewrite the code. Think about the story of a student in New York. For years, she said, I am shy. Every time she faced a crowd, her body froze. Every time she tried to speak, her voice collapsed. She believed the label. Then she learned a new lens. She replaced I am shy with I notice shyness. The moment she did, something opened. She was no longer the identity. She was the observer of the feeling. 6 months later, she was president of the debate club, speaking with strength, leading with confidence. Not because the fear vanished, but because the label lost its power. So what about you? How many labels have you carried that were never yours to begin with? How many I am statements have locked you into a prison built by old voices? You are not those labels. You are the one who notices them. And the moment you strip them away, you step into a new reality. Right now, hear this. You are not the sticker someone else put on you. You are not the name given by fear, by culture, by memory. You are the one who sees. And you have the right to take the label off. So here is your invitation. The next time a thought rises and says I am broken, shift it. Say I'm noticing a feeling of being broken. The moment you say it, you create distance. You move from prisoner to witness. And in that space, the emotion begins to dissolve. This is not just philosophy. This is practice. Each shift in language rewires the brain. Each moment you choose to notice instead of identify, you cut through years of conditioning. You become free. But here is the tension. When emotions surge like fire, when the storm rises strong, how do you stay outside and observe? How do you hold the lens steady when the pressure tries to pull you back in? That is the next step, and the answer lies in the very power you are beginning to awaken right now. You are not the label. You are the lens. And when you change the lens, you change your life. By pausing for 3 seconds to observe before you react. That is the technique. Simple, precise, powerful. But let me ask you, how many times have you spoken words you wish you could take back? How many times have you reacted in anger, in fear, in pressure, only to regret it later? One moment of reaction can create years of consequence. And yet, one pause of 3 seconds can rewrite the entire outcome. 3 seconds. That is all it takes to shift from prisoner to observer, from automatic reaction to conscious choice. Here is how it works. Step 1, stop. Do not move. Do not speak. Just pause. Step 2, breathe. Inhale slowly, exhale fully. Step 3, ask yourself, who is observing right now? Who is noticing this wave of emotion? Suddenly, you are not drowning in it. You are standing outside, watching. This is not imagination. This is neuroscience. A 3-second pause interrupts the amygdala, the part of your brain that triggers fight or flight. It calms the surge, giving your prefrontal cortex, the seat of logic and clarity, a chance to take control. 3 seconds is long enough to shift the brain from chaos to balance. Think about a police officer in Chicago. One night, he pulled over a driver who shouted in frustration. His own anger started to rise. His hands clenched, his pulse raced. In the past, he might have reacted. But this time, he remembered the observer pause. He stopped. He breathed. He asked, "Who is noticing this anger?" And in that moment, the fire cooled. Instead of escalating, he spoke calmly. The driver calmed down too. A situation that could have exploded turned into peace, all because of 3 seconds. Now imagine this in your life. You are in conflict with someone you love. A harsh word rises to your lips. Pause. You feel fear before a big decision. Your chest tightens. Pause. Pressure at work builds, and you want to lash out. Pause. Each time you give yourself 3 seconds, you give yourself power. But here's the real truth. This is not only about controlling emotions. This is about freedom. Because when you pause, you prove that you are not the reaction. You are not the fear. You are not the anger. You are the one who observes it. And the observer always has a choice. So let me ask you again. What would happen if, the next time anger rose like fire, you gave yourself just 3 seconds? What if, the next time fear tried to grip you, you stopped long enough to breathe and notice? What kind of choices would you make then? What kind of life would unfold from those choices? This technique is not theory. It is practice. The more you repeat it, the stronger it becomes. Like lifting a weight, each pause builds a new muscle of awareness. And soon, it is no longer effort. It becomes reflex. Science confirms this too. Repeated pauses train your neural circuits. They weaken the old reactive pathways and strengthen new patterns of control. Over time, the pause becomes automatic. The brain learns that between stimulus and response, there is always a space. And in that space, there is power. So listen carefully. The next time your anger rises, give yourself 3 seconds. The next time your fear tightens your chest, give yourself 3 seconds. The next time pressure threatens to break you, give yourself 3 seconds. Because in those 3 seconds, you will discover something extraordinary. You cannot erase every storm, but you can choose how you stand in it. And when you pause, you no longer drown. You stand firm. You choose. You live awake. But now comes the deeper question. If the observer pause is so powerful, how do you make it a natural reflex? How do you train yourself to remember it when the fire is hottest, when the storm is strongest? That is where the journey leads next. And the answer may surprise you. By repeating and anchoring daily reminders. How do you turn a spark into a way of life? How do you move from a single pause to a steady pulse of awareness, day after day? The answer is simple, urgent, and within reach. You build reminders into your world. You wire mindfulness into your routine. You let practice become your default. This is not about perfection. This is about rhythm. A drumbeat of attention you can feel and trust. Small, steady, relentless. Because consistency wins where intensity fails. Start with one object. A ring, a bracelet, a smooth stone in your pocket. Call it your anchor. Each time you touch it, breathe once and ask, who is observing right now? That tiny cue flips the switch from autopilot to awareness. It works in meetings, in traffic, in conflict. Asterisk, add a page. Keep a simple journal. 1 minute in the morning, 2 at night. Write what you noticed. Write when you drifted. Write when you returned. Do not judge, just record. Every line stitches attention into memory. Then claim 3 minutes each dawn. Sit eyes soft, spine tall. Notice the first thought. Label it thinking. Return to the breath. Another thought arrives. Label it thinking. Return again. 3 minutes is enough to begin. 3 minutes removes excuses. Why this method? Because repetition rewires. University College London research shows that habits form through daily repetition, often around 66 days on average. Not overnight, not by force. Through steady practice that teaches the brain what to expect and how to respond. So you repeat, and you anchor, and slowly the observer becomes familiar. The pause arrives faster. The voice grows quieter. You begin to carry stillness like a hidden skill. There is a story that proves the point. A CEO in Silicon Valley wore a plain silver ring. It was not for style. It was an anchor. Before every tense meeting, the ring became a prompt. Thumb to silver. Inhale. Exhale. Who is observing? In that micro ritual, emotion settled. Words slowed. Decisions improved. Make your own anchor now. Touch a watch band. Tie a small thread. Place a note on your desk that says notice. Set a gentle chime at noon. Each cue is a doorway back to yourself. Each doorway is an investment in the life you want to live. And count your wins. Record every moment you caught yourself before reacting. Every moment you chose to breathe. These are your proof points. These are your new memories. They remind the nervous system that you can meet pressure without breaking. Why the urgency? Because moments slip through your fingers when you live unawake. Opportunities drift past. Relationships strain. Energy leaks. When reminders anchor you, presence returns. Energy concentrates. Choices sharpen. You feel lighter because you are not dragging yesterday forward. This practice is not fragile. It belongs in the storm. Do not wait for a quiet morning, a perfect schedule, or a stress-free week. Bring awareness into deadlines, traffic, disagreement, noise. That is where it becomes real. Picture this. Your phone buzzes with a difficult message. Heat rises in your chest. You want to react. Anchor. Breathe. Ask who is observing. In 3 seconds, the wave crests and passes. You reply with clarity. Another scene. Late afternoon fatigue drags your mind off course. You reach for distractions. Anchor. Breathe. Ask, what am I noticing? You step back into the moment. You finish the work. You end the day clean. Build rituals around thresholds. When you touch a doorknob, pause for one breath. When you sit at your desk, pause for one breath. When you end a call, pause for one breath. Thresholds create hooks. Hooks create habits. Habits shape identity. Keep the language precise. Swap I am stressed for I am noticing stress. Swap I am unfocused for I am noticing distraction. The words keep you in the role of the observer. The observer chooses. The observer directs energy. Yes, some days you will forget. Good. That is another chance to practice. The instant you notice you forgot, celebrate the noticing. That moment is victory. That moment is the habit forming in real time. Track your streaks if it helps. Mark a calendar. Draw a small dot for every day you used your anchor once and sat for 3 minutes once. Dots become chains. Chains become momentum. Momentum becomes identity. Listen to your body. Mindfulness changes the way energy moves through you. Breath slows. Shoulders drop. Jaw unclenches. Sleep deepens. Conversations soften. Work becomes cleaner. You save energy you used to waste on rumination and regret. That saved energy becomes fuel for the life you want to build. Return to the core promise. You are not the voice. You are the observer. Reminders keep you in that truth when life tries to pull you back into the script. Each anchor is a handrail you can hold in the dark dot, so do not wait for calm to practice awareness. Bring it into the storm. When conflict spikes, anchor. When fear tightens, anchor. When pressure mounts, anchor. That is how you train your nervous system to meet intensity with clarity. Here is the deeper payoff. Over weeks, awareness stops feeling like a task and starts feeling like home. You do not force yourself to remember. You find yourself remembering. The ring, the breath, the notebook, the dawn. They meet you where you are and bring you back. Then something shifts. Your choices begin to align. You say no with kindness. You say yes with conviction. You protect your focus. You release what is heavy. You move through the day with less friction and more purpose. This is how mindfulness changes energy and life. It reduces wasted motion. It converts reactivity into presence. It makes room for creativity, courage, and connection. It changes the texture of ordinary moments, which is another way of saying it changes everything. So I ask you now, will you place one anchor in your pocket today? Will you claim 3 minutes tomorrow morning? Will you write one line tonight about what you noticed? These are not chores. These are keys. Choose one. Use it. Repeat it. Let it repeat you. Do not wait for calm to train calm. Bring it into the storm. And then answer this final question. How will this practice reshape your energy, your choices, and your life? Because when you observe, you change your vibrational frequency. Think about that. Every thought, every emotion, every reaction you have is energy. And energy has a frequency. Fear has a frequency. Anger has a frequency. Joy, love, presence, each carries its own vibration. The moment you shift from reacting to observing, you shift your frequency. And when your frequency changes, your reality begins to respond. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the tension before anyone spoke? That was frequency. Have you ever felt calm just by being near someone steady? That was frequency. What you radiate does not stay inside you. It shapes the environment around you. This is not just philosophy. Physics calls it the observer effect. Quantum studies prove that the act of observation changes the outcome of an experiment. The mere presence of awareness alters matter. If this is true at the smallest level of particles, why not in your daily life? Every time you choose to notice instead of react, you broadcast a new signal. You stop sending chaos. You start sending coherence. You stop transmitting fear. You start transmitting clarity. There is a story from Florida. A teacher faced daily disruption in her classroom. Students restless, voices loud, energy chaotic. She began practicing mindfulness. Not preaching, not demanding. Simply observing her own breath, her own reactions in front of her students. Over weeks, something shifted. The energy in the room softened. Students mirrored her calm. Disruptions decreased. The class became peaceful, not because she forced change, but because she embodied a new frequency. So here is the truth. When you observe, you are not just helping yourself. You are tuning the space around you. You are adjusting the field you live in. Pause and feel this. In the moment you choose awareness, you are not just breaking your cycle. You are sending a ripple into the universe. A ripple that tells reality, I am ready for something new. Imagine the power of this ripple. You walk into a meeting with calm presence, and suddenly the tone shifts. You enter a conversation grounded, and the conflict dissolves. You sit with your own fear, observing it, and the people around you feel safer without knowing why. Frequency is contagious. Presence is magnetic. And the source is your choice to observe. So ask yourself, what frequency are you transmitting right now? Is it fear? Is it stress? Or is it the signal of clarity? Because every pause, every breath, every act of noticing is a transmission dot. And here lies the mystery. If observation changes outcomes at the quantum level, then every act of mindfulness is not small. It is cosmic. Every time you refuse to feed the storm, you rewrite reality. This is why awareness feels different, why it lightens your body, why it sharpens your mind. You are not just calming yourself. You are tuning your instrument. You are aligning to a higher resonance. Science and spirit meet here. The nervous system calms. The brain rewires. And the field around you shifts. You are no longer trapped in reaction. You are broadcasting choice dot. So let me ask you, what would your life look like if you lived as a transmitter of presence? What would change if your default frequency was calm, steady, awake? Because this is not a dream. This is practice. And every choice to observe is a step into that new vibration dot. Do not underestimate this. The world around you is listening. Every moment you observe instead of react, you are sending a new message into the field. And here is the invitation. Next time chaos rises, stop, breathe, observe. Know that in that single act, you are shifting not just your life, but the frequency of everything around you. Each pause is a signal. Each signal is a ripple. Each ripple builds a new reality dot. So remember this. You are not trapped by old energy. You are not chained to old vibrations. You are the observer, and the observer holds the power to tune the frequency of life itself. But the question now is this. If you can shift frequency through observation, can you also direct it to create the reality you truly desire? Yes, by combining observation with conscious action. That is how you move from awareness to creation. That is how you step from being a witness of life to being the architect of it. Let me ask you, what is the point of awakening if you do not build something new with it? What is the point of noticing the program if you do not rewrite it? Awareness without action is potential left unused. But awareness joined with choice becomes creation. Consciousness is not passive. Consciousness is the builder. Every time you act from presence instead of habit, you carve a new path in reality. Every time you make a choice from the state of awareness, you broadcast a new pattern into the field around you. This is not just an idea. Research by Dr. Joe Dispenza shows that when you change your internal state, your thoughts, emotions, and attention, your body responds. Hormones shift. Genes express differently. Behavior changes. Biology bends to awareness. Life reorganizes around a new state of being. Here is the formula. Observe first. Anchor yourself in presence. Then act from that state. Not from fear, not from programming, from the clarity of the observer. And the results that follow are no longer copies of the past. They are new. Let me tell you a story. A woman in Seattle had carried trauma for years. Her inner voice said she was broken, unworthy, limited. Then she learned to observe. She began to imagine herself not as wounded, but as already healed. She pictured the version of herself walking strong, speaking with confidence, creating impact. And she acted as if that version was real. She showed up to opportunities as her healed self. She built routines as her healed self. A year later, she opened her own wellness consulting company. Not because the world suddenly changed, but because she changed. She observed, then she acted consciously, and her reality followed. So what about you? How much longer will you wait to live as the version you know is possible? How many more days will you spend looping the same habits instead of stepping into the identity that is calling you? You already hold the key. The observer gave it to you. Now you must use it. Do not only dream of a new reality. Stand inside it now. Speak as the version of you who is already there. Walk as the version of you who already made it. Act as the version of you who no longer doubts. Each conscious action is a signal to the universe. This is who I am now. And the universe responds to that frequency. This is the law of creation. You do not wait until you are ready. You choose presence. You take one action aligned with your new lens. And that action reshapes the field around you. Yes, fear will whisper. Yes, resistance will rise. But remember this. Fear is only the echo of the old program. Resistance is only the trembling of neurons unwiring from the past. If you observe it, it loses power. If you act beyond it, it dissolves. Every conscious step proves something to your nervous system. It says, I am no longer the old script. I am the one writing a new story. The more you repeat this, the more the body learns to trust the new state. And then the new state becomes natural. Imagine your life 6 months. From now, if every day you combined observation with one conscious action, one conversation you handle differently, one decision you make with presence, one moment you step forward instead of retreating, small ripples compound into waves. And waves change the shoreline of your life. So let me ask you again. Will you only notice, or will you create? Will you stop at awareness, or will you build with it? Because the truth is, you are not just a witness. You are a creator. Every pause, every breath, every mindful choice is a brushstroke on the canvas of your life. Do not stand outside your dream. Step into it. Live inside it. The moment you combine observation with conscious action, you become the architect of a new reality. But here comes the next question. What if you fail? What if obstacles appear? What if the old world pushes back? That question opens the door to the final lesson. And the answer is waiting for you. Observe obstacles as part of the journey. What if the very thing you fear is not here to break you, but to shape you? What if the challenge in front of you is not a wall, but a doorway? Every storm, every conflict, every setback carries a hidden lesson. The problem is not the obstacle. The problem is how you see it. Most people identify with the pain. They say, I am broken. I am ruined. I am lost. But the observer does something different. The observer steps back and says, I am noticing pain. I am noticing fear. I am noticing resistance. And in that space, the suffering softens. The sting loses power. You are no longer trapped inside the wound. You are holding it in your awareness. Science supports this. Research on post-traumatic growth reveals that 53% of people who endure crisis go on to experience profound positive changes. Strength they never knew they had. Purpose they never imagined. Compassion they never felt before. Crisis does not only destroy. Crisis transforms. If you learn to observe it, think about the story of a college basketball player. One game, a devastating injury tore through his career. His dream shattered in seconds. The old program said, life is over. The voice screamed, you are nothing without the game. But then he turned to mindfulness. Day after day, he sat with the pain. He observed the thoughts. He watched the fear rise and fall. Slowly, his body healed. More importantly, his spirit grew stronger. He returned not just as an athlete, but as a leader, guiding others through their storms. So let me ask you, when you face obstacles, do you collapse into them? Or do you step back and watch? Do you identify with the storm? Or do you remember you are the sky? This is not easy. The wave of fear is loud. The pull of despair is strong. But each time you pause, breathe, and notice, you create distance. And in that distance, wisdom emerges. You begin to see the obstacle for what it is, a teacher. What does anger teach you? Boundaries. What does loss teach you? Value. What does failure teach you? Resilience. Every obstacle carries a message. The observer hears it. The prisoner misses it. Remember this. The storm is temporary. The sky is permanent. You are not the obstacle. You are the awareness holding it. So next time life presses against you, say it quietly. I am observing. I am noticing. I am present. That small shift turns suffering into growth. That shift transforms a wound into wisdom. And here is the miracle. The moment you face the storm without collapsing, you discover strength you never imagined. You realize the obstacle was never against you. It was for you. It was a test designed to awaken the observer within. So do not run from the storm. Do not fight it blindly. Observe it. Learn from it. Let it polish you. Let it carve you into who you were meant to become. Because when you stare directly at the storm, you realize the truth. You are not the thunder. You are not the rain. You are the sky. Vast, untouched, eternal. And once you know that, no obstacle can ever truly defeat you. But this leaves one final question. If the observer can face every storm, then where does this journey ultimately lead? To the life you actively choose, instead of living by programming. Isn't that the question you have been waiting for? After all the storms, the pauses, the new lenses, the anchors, the frequency shifts, where does it lead? It leads here, to the moment you decide that you are no longer a victim of the old voice. You are the observer, and as the observer, you choose. Every day, presence becomes your compass. You wake, you breathe, you notice. You no longer let recycled thoughts drag you into yesterday. You choose which thoughts to entertain. You choose which energy to carry. You choose which actions to take. Life no longer happens to you. Life happens through you. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity. The brain is not fixed. It reshapes itself with each conscious choice. Every time you step into awareness, neurons fire differently. Every time you choose presence, your brain rewires itself. New connections form. New pathways strengthen. And over time, the new you is not temporary. It is permanent. Listen to this story. A single mother in Boston lived in constant anxiety. Bills to pay. A child to raise. A voice that told her she was stuck forever. But she began to practice observation. 2 years of small pauses, daily journaling, mindful breathing. Slowly she shifted. The fear lost its grip. She built her own freelance work. She created time for her child. She moved from survival to creation. Not by luck, but by living as the observer. So what about you? How many more days will you surrender to the same patterns? How many more years will you hand over to an old program that was never yours? You stand right now at the threshold of choice. To stay asleep or to live awake. And here is the truth. Between those two worlds lies one simple action. To observe, to choose, to live consciously. That is the doorway. That is the gift. That is the power you already hold. So here is your call to action. Right now, in this moment, claim it. Let this not just be another video you watch and forget. Let this be the turning point. Pause, breathe, choose. Step forward as the observer of your own life. And because this journey is bigger than you, share it. Share your realization in the comments. Let others know what part of this message woke something inside you. Your words might be the mirror someone else needs. If this spoke to you, like the video, let it be your signal to yourself that you are choosing awareness. And subscribe so you do not lose the momentum. Let this community be your anchor, reminding you again and again that you are not alone in this awakening. Because right now, among millions of distractions you could have chosen, you are here. You chose this moment. And that choice matters. So let us seal it together. Observe, choose, live as the observer. Carry this truth into every thought, every action, every moment. When the storm rises, remember, you are the sky. When the voice whispers, remember, you are the one who hears. When life presses, remember, you are the one who chooses. And now, say it quietly to yourself. I am the observer. I choose my life. Thank you for walking this journey. The path continues, and it begins again today.